When I heard there was going to be a new Star Trek film, well then, I boldly went where other Star Trek fans have gone before. I binge watched the entire series, all 12 films, before I saw the new one. So here are my thoughts on Star Trek Beyond. Hello YouTubers, my name is Frederick Lopez, and today I want to be going over my thoughts and review of the new film Star Trek Beyond. Wow, let me just start off by saying that this film is much better than I thought it was going to be. I was kind of worried. I liked the first two, the reboot films, but Star Trek 11 and 12, done by J.J. Abrams, I like both of them. Even though there may be some qualms about Into Darkness that people may have, I still liked it. But this really surprised me. It's from Justin Lin. Justin Lin directed it. He directed the Fast and Furious films. Tokyo Drift all the way to Fast and Furious 6. And he does a really good job here. He's also known to be a Star Trek fan. And Simon Pegg co-wrote it, and he did a good job. But I was worried. At first I wasn't sure how this film was going to be, because like the Fast and Furious is very different. Now I've seen directors direct many different types of genres, but I just wasn't sure on this one. And then J.J. Abrams leaving to do Star Wars The Force Awakens. I was just a little worried, but you know what? It turned out to be much better than I expected, and it kept in the spirit with not only the new films, but some of the older ones as well. Justin Lin just did a great job in this. He combined the action of the new Chris Pine films. The past two films, it has the action, and then a little bit of character and philosophical stuff. It combines the old and the new together very well, and in a way is a perfect film for its 50th anniversary celebration. So it surprised me because, you know, the original Star Treks, like the TV series and the films, are like a thinking man's movie. They're very philosophical. They went over different things. And then once it got kind of towards the later ones and Next Generation and stuff, it became more of like an action movie, especially the last two. There is some good story with the characters and everything, but it was more action based. Now this one's probably like the most action packed one, but it does one thing very well, and that is that it focuses on the characters. Very great character moments, and they know who these characters are. Every member of the crew gets to shine, and it's also very different because Chris Pine in this one is playing a James T. Kirk, who is much more mature. He's much more like the William Shatner Kirk when he was younger. It's on their 5-year voyage, like the original television series. So it's really good in that regard. Bones is great. Spock, Uhura, Sulu. Now, I wasn't sure what to think when they changed his character's origin, but the whole Sulu is homosexual thing, I wasn't really like for it as far as like the character. I don't mind anybody being homosexual, but it's not as, they made a bigger deal than it was made out to be, you know? Like, it's not that big of a deal when you watch the movie. But just to tell you Trek fans, a minor spoiler, Sulu does have a daughter in this, so it is going to mind that timeline with generations. So that's some good news. The acting's great, and I like the villain. Idris Elba just gets to shine in this, and they really gave him a role to play with the makeup and the way his character story is. The new Trek films have had some really great actors to portray the villains, with Eric Bana as Nero or Benedict Cumberbatch as Khan. So Idris Elba plays Cruel. Now, it starts off, they're on a mission, they're back in Yorktown, which is like a space station, and they get a distress signal, so they have to investigate it. And when they go there, they get ambushed by this fleet of just like metal ships, and it's led by Idris Elba's character, Cruel, and he wants the Enterprise for some reason. And basically, the crew of the Enterprise gets stranded on this planet and must find a way out. And it turns out that millions of other people throughout the universe have been trapped on this planet. Their ships have been taken and just wrecked. They're shipwrecked crews on this planet. So it's very interesting. You get to learn more about Krull and his motivations, and you get to see the USS Enterprise crew try to stop him. So it's one of your usual formulas for Star Trek. It's kind of like you go there, there's a new world, and it mixes some of the ambush stuff, but it has all the action. But the character moments are really well done. There's some philosophical stuff, not as big as the previous films, but I have to say, in my personal opinion, the philosophical stuff is more about mortality and how to live one's life. So before we go on in this, Leonard Nimoy's passing is acknowledged in this film, and Spock has to deal with that, and he starts to think about mortality, and then Kirk starts to think about mortality and how to live with his father. His father died when he was born, but it's his birthday, and he's a year older than his father. So it's kind of like the part you maybe saw in the trailers where Bones is just like, all this time you've been trying to live up to your father, but you're now wondering what is it like to be yourself? What is it like to be James Tiberius Kirk? So there's a lot of interesting stuff in there, melded with the action. But Justin Lin just brings a freshness to the series. It gets reinvigorated, and most of all, what I do like is that it's original. There's originality in this one. I like the first J.J. Abrams Star Trek, but the second one, I like it too, but it's just a little bit too much of a remake of Wrath of Khan, and some stuff is just a little bit different than the first as far as like the wardrobe and how dark it was and them wanting to go to war. And this one's more like the Federation from the first Star Trek and the previous Star Trek films, and it's kind of more in line with the first one in that regard. Cast does very well. Carl Urban as Bones is just great. He gets a lot more humor, kind of more like the earlier ones. Uhura and Spock. Spock is really good. James T. Kirk, is nice seeing Chris Pine play a more mature Kirk. Like I said earlier, he's kind of like that TV series one. Chekhov gets a lot more to do, and so does Scotty. And I must say, it's kind of sad seeing Anton Yelchin in this movie after he passed, but he does have a lot of screen time. And there's certain moments, speaking of that, between Anton Yelchin and Leonard Nimoy, as far as like the way Leonard Nimoy's Ambassador Spock characters mentioned, and then just certain things, just watching with Chekhov and Anton Yelchin, it kind of gets to you. There's certain heartfelt moments in this that are really, really sweet and just get to your hearts if you watch the previous Star Trek films. Overall, it's very emotional in some parts, but it kind of is a culmination of the 50 years of the series. So, yeah. But yeah, I would recommend seeing Star Trek. It's an action-packed film. I can't really think of anything really wrong with it. There is a good use of Sabotage by the Beastie Boys again, I must say. Better than the teaser trailer. But I have to say one thing. The trailers in this, I thought were okay. They were good. But it teaches us, again, not to judge a movie based on its trailer. And this is one of those instances. But yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. And I give it a 5 out of 5 and an A. Yeah, go see Star Trek. It is beyond amazing and boldly goes where no other Star Trek film has gone before. At least it boldly goes where the other greats are. It's up there in like my top 5. I have it. This, Undiscovered Country, First Contact, Wrath of Khan, and the first Star Trek with Chris Pine. And then another one I have up there is, even though it's not in the 5, is Voyage Home. So yeah, this one's a really well-made Star Trek film. I heard they're making part 4. I like to see how Chris Hemsworth is going to be melded into it with his father, since he died in the first one. Unless it's some type of Nexus thing, maybe you can have a future Kirk with William Shatner. I don't know, but yeah. Any film fans or just fans of the original crew, there's a little Easter egg towards the end that will just get to your heartstrings. But yeah, that's just my quick little thought and review. And I have to say, he's a really good villain, Idris Elba. He has a character arc. You see his motivations, and especially towards the end. It's one of those movies where it's enjoyable, certain moments, but it's kind of like momentum, and then everything just comes together for an explosive climatic finale. So yeah. Anyway, I give it a 5 out of 5 and an A. So live long and prosper, everyone.